The hall fell silent when the doors burst open. Two faces I hadn't seen in 8 years stood frozen under the golden chandeliers, my parents. Their clothes were simple, almost out of place among the glittering guests. For a heartbeat, the laughter, the music, the world itself, all went still. My mother's eyes searched the room like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. My father's trembling hands clutched his hat, the same way he did the night he told me to leave his house forever. The scent of roses and wine mixed with the memories I had buried long ago. The crowd turned, whispers rising like a wave. Who are they? And there I stood, dressed in white, wearing a ring that symbolized everything I had built without them. 8 years of silence. 8 years of pain. And now, on the night I was supposed to celebrate love, the people who broke me had come back, crying. No one at that party knew the story buried beneath my smile. 8 years ago, I stood at the edge of our small front yard with a suitcase full of clothes and a heart full of disbelief. The sky was dark that evening, heavy with rain, as my father's voice echoed behind me, cold, final, and sharp. If you walk out with that boy, don't ever come back. I was 18, foolishly in love with a man twice my age. To my parents, it was the ultimate betrayal. My mother wept and begged me to stay, but my father's pride spoke louder than her tears. When the first drop of rain hit my cheek, I realized it wasn't the sky that was crying. It was me. Our home had always been filled with noise, the hiss of my mother's cooking pot, the hum of my father's radio, and the endless arguments about money and my future. My father was a teacher, proud and strict, the kind of man who believed respect mattered more than happiness. My mother, on the other hand, carried a quiet strength. She saw me not as a child to control, but as a dream waiting to bloom. Still, she rarely stood against him. I was their only child, their hope and their disappointment wrapped in one. I just finished high school, top of my class, dreaming of university. But life doesn't always unfold the way we dream it. The man I fell for, David, promised to help me escape the small-town life my parents clung to. He painted pictures of a bigger world, where love mattered more than rules. I believed him. The night I left, my father threw my clothes out on the porch. A child who disrespects her parents, he said, is no longer my daughter. My mother reached for me, but he pulled her hand back. I'll never forget the look in her eyes, torn between love and obedience. For years, I carried that image with me wherever I went. City life was harder than I imagined. David's promises faded quickly. Within a year, he was gone, leaving me in a small rented room with unpaid bills and a growing belly. I was 19, heartbroken, and pregnant with a child who would never know his father. There were nights I almost went back home. I would write letters to my mother, but I never sent them. I imagined my father tearing them apart before she could even read them. So instead, I kept moving forward. I worked as a cleaner, then as a waitress. Every coin I earned felt like a rebellion against the pain they left me with. But life, strange as it is, has a way of rewarding persistence. I met a kind woman named Auntie Ruth at the restaurant where I worked. She was a lawyer who saw potential in me. "You've got a fire in your eyes," she told me one day. "Don't waste it." She helped me enroll in night school. By 24, I had earned a business degree. My son, Caleb, grew up watching me chase a life we were told we didn't deserve. When he asked about my parents, I told him they lived far away. The truth was simpler. They had chosen pride over love. Then I met Michael. He wasn't rich or powerful, but he had something I had never known before: peace. He loved me for my scars, not despite them. When he proposed, it wasn't just an engagement, it was the closing of an old wound. So when I planned that beautiful engagement party under the chandelier lights, I thought I had buried the past for good. I was wrong. Because the night they walked through those doors, every memory I tried to forget came rushing back, along with the pain of the little girl who had once begged her parents not to let her go. The sound of the band faded as if the music itself knew to step aside for something bigger. I froze halfway through a smile when I saw my parents standing there. My mother's trembling lips formed my name. Amara. I hadn't heard that name spoken with love in years. My fiancé, Michael, glanced at me, confused. "Who are they?" he whispered. But I couldn't answer. My body felt anchored to the floor like the air itself had turned heavy. My father stepped forward first. His once straight back was slightly bent, his hair now streaked with gray. My mother looked older too, her beauty softened by sorrow. They didn't come closer. They simply stood there, unsure if they were even allowed to. The guests whispered in low tones. My best friend, Ruth, the woman who had saved me all those years ago, tried to signal the security to escort them out. But I lifted my hand. No. The silence between us stretched like an open wound. Finally, my mother spoke, her voice cracking. We didn't come to ruin your night. We just wanted to see you. To say we're sorry. Sorry. One word, 8 years too late. I felt something inside me twist. Anger, grief, disbelief. Sorry? I repeated, the word trembling in my throat. You threw me out. You left me alone when I needed you the most. Now you show up because you want to? My father lowered his eyes. We didn't know how to find you. We thought you'd moved on, as if survival was the same as peace. I wanted to shout, to tell them how I starved, how I gave birth alone in a hospital where no one came to visit. But I couldn't. My guests were watching, my son was nearby, and the little girl I used to be was screaming inside me to stay strong. So I smiled. The kind of smile that hides pain. You shouldn't have come, I said quietly. There's nothing left to fix. I turned to walk away, but my mother's sobs stopped me. Please, Amara. We're not here for forgiveness. We came because we learned the truth. The truth? I turned back slowly, my heart hammering. What truth? My father reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded letter, old, creased, and sealed with the emblem of a hospital. 8 years ago, he began, we thought David, his voice faltered, we thought that man was dead. But 2 months ago, we found out he had been in prison. And he sent us this, I froze. My world blurred around me. David, he's alive? My mother nodded. He said he wanted to see his son before it's too late. The room spun. My son, the child they never met, the child I raised alone. My heart pounded so hard I could barely breathe. Michael stepped closer, placing a hand on my shoulder. Amara, you don't have to do this now, he whispered. But I shook my head. The storm had already begun. My father unfolded the letter, his hands trembling. He said he was sorry for everything. That he lied to you, that he told you to leave because he owed men money. Dangerous men. I stared at him, unable to speak. So all those years? He didn't stop me because he didn't love me, but because he was scared. My mother nodded through tears. He thought if you stayed, they'd come for you. And her voice broke. We believed the worst about you when you left. We thought you ran away out of shame. I could barely feel my legs. The music, the guests, the lights, everything melted away. All I could see were the faces of the people who had shaped my life. The man who betrayed me, and the parents who abandoned me. My voice shook as I whispered, You destroyed me for a lie. My father's tears finally fell. I know. And if I could take back the pain I caused you, I would. The crowd around us was silent, the kind of silence that feels sacred, or suffocating. Then Michael spoke, his voice calm but firm. If you truly want her forgiveness, you'll need more than words. You left her when she needed parents. You don't get to walk back in when her life finally has peace. My father nodded slowly. We know. That's why we came tonight. Not to ask for forgiveness, but to ask to know our grandson. To see him, even once. At that, my heart cracked in two. I looked across the room where Caleb stood near Ruth, confusion on his small face. He looked so much like my father when he smiled. For 8 years, I had promised myself he'd never meet the people who threw me away. But now, as I watched my parents tremble before me, I realized something. Time had humbled them in ways anger never could. I turned away, whispering, Not tonight. My mother broke down, clinging to my father as he led her out. The door closed softly behind them, leaving the weight of their tears lingering in the air. The guests exhaled, the whispers resumed, and the music struggled to return. But my world had changed again, because in one night, the past I'd buried had clawed its way back, and with it came the ghost of the man who started it all. That night, after the guests had left and the lights dimmed, I sat alone by the window of my apartment, staring at the unopened letter my father had given me. Outside, the city pulsed with life, but inside me, everything was still. Michael had gone to put Caleb to bed. I could hear the soft rhythm of their voices down the hall. For years, peace had been my only goal, and now it felt as fragile as glass. I ran my fingers over the letter. The handwriting was familiar, rough, impatient, the way David always wrote when he was in a hurry. My heart clenched. Slowly, I broke the seal. The first line made my breath catch. If you're reading this, Amara, it means I didn't make it out. He wrote about the debt, the gang, the night he sent me away. But halfway through the letter, one sentence stopped me cold. I never meant to leave you. I thought your parents would protect you, not throw you away. My pulse quickened. He knew they had sent me out. How? He wrote that a week after I left, he tried to come back. He had gone to my parents' house, and my father met him at the door. He told me you were gone for good, that you had chosen another man and wanted nothing to do with me or the child. The words blurred through my tears. My father, the same man who cried at my engagement, had lied. A deep, cold anger began to rise. I could almost hear my father's voice again, the night he kicked me out, saying I had shamed the family. Now I understood. He didn't just judge me. He decided my fate. He didn't want David near me. Not because David was dangerous, but because of pride. Michael came to sit beside me, his voice soft. What's in the letter? I handed it to him silently. He read it slowly, frowning deeper with every line. When he finished, he looked at me, shocked. So your father knew David came back? He lied to both of you? I nodded, tears streaming freely now. He made me believe I was unwanted. He made David believe I moved on. He broke us both. Michael took my hand gently. Amara, this changes everything. You have every right to confront him, but not in anger. In truth. Truth. A word that had cost me too much. As I sat there, I felt 1,000 emotions fighting inside me. Grief, betrayal, exhaustion. But above all, I felt clarity. The years of silence, the guilt, the loneliness, none of it had been my fault. The next morning, I picked up the phone and called the one person I never thought I'd call again. My mother answered, her voice hesitant. Amara? Tell Dad, I said quietly. I read the letter. A pause. Then a shaky whisper. Then you know. Yes, I said. And tomorrow I want to hear his side, face to face. The following morning, the sky hung low and gray, the kind that carried the smell of rain and reckoning. I drove alone to the old house I once called home. The road was the same, narrow, lined with crooked fences and mango trees, but everything else had changed. When I parked in front of the gate, my chest tightened. The walls looked smaller now, worn by time, and the flowers my mother used to plant were gone. I could still see the shadow of the girl I had been, standing at that gate 8 years ago with a suitcase and a broken heart. My mother opened the door before I could knock. Her eyes were red from crying, her voice trembling. I didn't think you'd come. I had to, I said softly. There's something I need to hear. She nodded and led me inside. The living room smelled like old books and rain. My father sat in his chair, the same wooden chair he used to sit in when reading his newspaper. But today, he looked nothing like the man who once ruled this house. He didn't stand when I entered. He just looked at me, his eyes full of something I hadn't seen before. Fear. Amara, he said, voice low. You read the letter, I nodded. Yes, and now I need to know about why. He sighed deeply, rubbing his forehead. Because I was proud. Too proud. When that man came to my door, I thought he had ruined you. I thought he had turned you against me. I couldn't accept that my daughter would choose someone like him over her family. So you lied? I said, my voice trembling. You told him I wanted nothing to do with him, that I was gone forever. You took away the only chance I had to be happy. He looked down. I thought I was protecting you. Protecting me? I stepped closer, my anger finally breaking free. Do you know what your protection cost me? I gave birth alone. I raised your grandson without help. I begged God for strength when I had no food, no home, no family. And you sat here, comfortable, believing your pride was worth my pain. My mother began to cry quietly, covering her mouth with her hands. He never told me, she whispered. I didn't know he came back, Amara. I swear I didn't know. For a moment, all I could hear was the ticking clock on the wall. Then my father spoke again, voice cracked and trembling. I was wrong. I know that now. I have watched your mother cry every night for the daughter we lost. I wanted to reach out, but I didn't know how to face what I'd done. I thought it was too late. I stared at him, my heart twisting between fury and pity. You had 8 years, I said quietly. 8 years to call, 8 years to write. But you waited until my life moved on, until I was happy. Tears spilled down his face. I thought you wouldn't want me back. For the first time, I saw not the man who had hurt me, but an old man haunted by his own choices. I turned to my mother. And you? Why didn't you fight for me? She took a shaky breath. Because I was afraid. Afraid of losing him. Afraid of breaking the family. But I lost you anyway. The words hit me harder than any slap ever could. I sank onto the couch, tears burning my eyes. You both ruined my life, I whispered. But I ruined myself too, by carrying this hate for so long. My father rose slowly from his chair and knelt before me. His voice was weak, trembling. Amara, I can't change the past. I can't erase what I did. But if there's any mercy left in your heart, let me know my grandson. Let me tell him who I was before I became this man. The room went silent. The rain began to fall outside, soft, steady, cleansing. I looked at the man kneeling before me, the same man who once told me I wasn't his daughter. And for a brief moment, I saw myself at 18, scared, angry, and desperate for love. I wiped my tears and said quietly, "You'll meet him." But not as my father, as a man who has something to prove. He nodded, tears falling freely. My mother sobbed openly now, holding on to him as if she might lose him too. We sat there for what felt like hours. No shouting, no anger left. Just 3 broken souls finally telling the truth. When I finally stood to leave, my father whispered, "Thank you." I turned back once more. "Don't thank me yet," I said. "Redemption isn't given. It's earned." Outside, the rain had stopped. A single ray of sunlight broke through the clouds, touching the old gate where my story had once ended, and now, perhaps, begun again. 2 weeks passed before I returned to that house again. This time, I wasn't alone. Caleb walked beside me, his little hand gripping mine. He wore his favorite white shirt, the one he called his special occasion shirt. When I told him he was going to meet his grandparents, he didn't ask many questions, just smiled the way children do when they sense something important. My father opened the door before I could knock. His face softened when he saw Caleb. For a moment, he couldn't speak, just stood there, eyes wide, tears filling the cracks of old regret. "Caleb," I said gently, "this is your grandfather." My son tilted his head curiously. "Grandfather?" My father dropped to his knees, his voice breaking. "Yes, my boy. I'm your grandfather," Caleb smiled, innocent, unburdened. "Do you have candy?" My father laughed through his tears. "I think I can find some." It was the first time in years that laughter filled that house. My mother appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. She froze when she saw Caleb, her lips trembling. Then she whispered, "He looks just like you did at his age." Caleb ran into her arms as if he had always known her. For a moment, everything that had been lost, time, love, peace, returned, fragile but real. We sat together, talking slowly, cautiously. My father told stories of his teaching days. My mother spoke about her garden, and Caleb listened wide-eyed. But there was still a part of me that couldn't rest. When the sun began to set, painting the room gold, I looked at my parents and asked, "Do you ever think about what might have happened if you hadn't sent me away?" My father's smile faded. "Every day. There isn't a night I close my eyes without hearing that door slam behind you." My mother reached across the table, taking my hand. "We can't undo the pain, Amara, but maybe we can write new memories on top of it." Her words hung in the air, simple, soft, and true. I nodded slowly. "Then let's start with honesty. No secrets, no lies." "Not ever again," they agreed. And for the first time, I believed them. As we stood by the doorway to leave, my father handed Caleb a small wooden carving, a bird with its wings spread wide. "This is freedom," he said. "May it remind you that love should never be caged by pride." Driving home that evening, Caleb fell asleep in the back seat. The city lights glowed through the window, reflecting in the ring on my hand. I thought about the life I had built, not perfect, but strong. Michael was waiting for us at home. When I told him what happened, he smiled. "So, is it over?" I looked out at the quiet night, feeling both lighter and older. "No," I said softly. "It's not over. It's just begun, the healing, because forgiveness isn't forgetting." It's choosing peace over pain. It's setting yourself free from the prison someone else built. And as I tucked Caleb into bed, I whispered to him, "When people hurt you, don't carry their pain forever. Sometimes forgiving them isn't for them, it's for you." He nodded sleepily, half dreaming, half listening outside. The rain began again, not heavy this time, but gentle, like the world itself was washing the past away. In Mama's Tales, we learn that forgiveness is not weakness. It is courage in its purest form. It takes strength to face the people who broke you and still choose peace over revenge. Pride builds walls, but love builds bridges across generations. Amara's story reminds us that time may heal wounds, but truth is what truly sets the heart free. So when life gives you pain, don't let it turn to bitterness. Let it become wisdom. Let it become power, because in the end, it's not where we fall that defines us. It's how we rise after the storm. Until next time, remember, every heart carries a story, and every story has a lesson. This is Mama's Tales.